And good morning. Hmm. Even though I went to bed with one of my laughter sessions of the day yesterday, I woke up in the pondering situation based on too many choices. And so today I titled the talk 2012 So Many Angles and Choices. I continue to be bombarded with ideas of how to approach my situation or the situation with my home. Yesterday I talked with a high-powered attorney that comes highly recommended. He gave me some assignments. Meanwhile, others keep pointing out other remedies to pursue. Of course, the attorney is well trained in the legal viewpoint of the current system, and I'm not sure how much of the human rights violations he sees in the system. What I do know is that I'm feeling somewhat confused since the meeting yesterday. The space I was in before that certainly felt better. Indeed. And yet, I do need to make choices. And this whole thing is a dance between the right brain and the left brain, or the feminine and the masculine, or the dark side of me and the light side of me. And all of us in 2012 are facing the same type of dilemma. And it doesn't stay constant. It's not always going to be the same level of feeling from one day to the next. And I know that, and I don't expect to freeze it into my hilarity mode and mood. It's going to fluctuate, and some of the assignments I need to go back and dig up some of the original paperwork. I need to do title searches. There are things that the attorney wants, and by the way, he is an attorney connected with the ecclesiastical court. So it is in line with the ecclesiastical court, or at least its personnel, assisting in the situation in which I find myself, where the bank and the court, the local court, have colluded to commit fraud and conspired to deprive me of my home, which they're not going to succeed, but nevertheless, that is the situation in which I find myself. And it's a situation that hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people around the world are finding themselves in as well. Because those of us who are at all attuned to what's happening in the world know that the two biggest areas of fraud is banking and the legal system. The legal system including the politics. It's not just the judicial branch of governments. It's the executive and legislative branches as well. And it has to go into corporations, since all governments, modern governments, tend to be privately held corporations, usually owned by the bankers. This is the system of the matrix in which we find ourselves, and it needs to be addressed. And it comes across in our personal lives as improper arrests, improper charges, attempt of theft of our homes, always fraud, because the system is rife with fraud from top to bottom. I mean, there's no way that we can get around that. That's the reality of the system. Everything turns on the economy, and everything in the economic system has been fraudulent for a long time. You're affected, I'm affected, everybody is affected around the world. The only ones that are not affected are the ones that choose not to be in that system at all and live as the indigenous tribes do in the jungles of the Amazon, or the jungles of Indonesia or Southeast Asia, or wherever in the world indigenous people still live, Africa of course, and even the interior of Australia. But the system itself that needs addressing is a very left brain system, and it requires choices. And which angle are you going to go at it from? Personally, I'm at the point where I'm like to go where I've never gone before and actually bring suits against the bank and even its attorneys and some of the other people that have played the role in this 7-year drama that has been playing out in my life regarding the trust. And honoring Dr. Mary's wishes, which, if the lawyers had their way, Dr. Mary's most important wish, that I have her home, would be totally annihilated, and I'd end up with absolutely nothing. And that's not acceptable to me. I know, I hear some of you that think of yourselves as more spiritual than I am saying, Ron, the best thing I ever did was let go of playing the game of trying to hang on to possessions. When I let go of my home, I was freed. When I let go of all that whole thing, I got to a whole different realm. Well, maybe that was your path and it worked just fine for you. Bravo for you. That's not a path I choose to take, and I would highly encourage no one to take that path, because coming away and fleeing from the situation that we have co-created together, to me, will never fix the problem. The problem can only ever be fixed by addressing it and looking at it as it is, calling it by the right names, not sugarcoating it, not living in denial of it, but facing it head on and taking responsibility for the parts that we have played the roles in, recognizing the parts that we don't think we played the roles in, and seeing where we did because of our acquiescence, because of our ignorance, because of our apathy. We did play the role. We allowed literally a criminal element to get away with even the thought that they had the power to control the whole world, and they almost succeeded, but they're not going to succeed. I know that. Everybody that's in touch at all, I believe, with the spiritual elements realizes that there is a higher purpose and a higher plan to all this that's been going on. And that plan is going to unfold. It is going to work out for the good for everyone. There is going to be a jubilee where all the debts are forgiven. There is going to be a correction. There has to be reparations made for all that was stolen from the people by these power-mad, insane, psychopathic individuals that have risen to the top of our economic and political structure, and yes, our religious structures too. And that's another area of re-education that is absolutely essential for humanity in 2012, to be re-educated, to recognize, especially those people that hold on to their my way is the only way type of thing. And that's most of fundamentalist evangelical Christianity. It's the Catholic Church ideology of I'm right and people that disagree are wrong. It's part of Islamic, hardcore Islamic traditions. It's part of hardcore even Hinduism and hardcore Buddhism, although I'm not as familiar with that, obviously. But all of this is a re-education where we need to recognize that God works in all of it and is not separate from any of it. That's really the core issue, because the real illusion always boils down to separation. When you feel separated, when you think that the physical appearances and that reality is the only reality, then you can't see the interconnectedness of all things. And so you have a tendency, when you see from that point, to want to sit in severe judgment, calling for the annihilation of what you perceive as the bad guys, the bad people, and not allowing even the bad people to have grace because you think you're separate from them and they don't have souls. That's bunk. That needs to be re-educated in our current system. And I know I started out with the legal thing and now I'm getting into the metaphysical aspect, but so many people can't see the metaphysical and the mystical aspects of all this, and we must be trained in that. We must learn. And as the news media is freed, and as Hollywood and the movie makers are freed, we can make movies that can help educate people very rapidly at the level that people think at. We can get into the televisions and to the theaters and present a new way of looking at things, and show people how the world became what it has become and where it's going if we would only learn to love one another. Now, as I said, in the legal thing that faces me this morning, I have the dilemma of which of several avenues I want to take. If I go the way with this attorney would like me to go, I have a feeling it may not. First of all, it's going to create a lot more work for me than some of the other ones do, because I don't care all about the initial paperwork and stuff like that. That doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is that they violated my rights. I, from the beginning, have been demanding a jury trial. From the time that they first tried to take it out of the civil court into probate court, I've been protesting that. I have demanded due process of law. They have avoided my affidavits, avoided all of the documentation that I've provided to the court of how my rights were being discovered and abused. And that's where I have put my focus, and where I'd like to put my focus, not on all the little incidental faux pas, that the attorneys made, that the mortgage company may have made, that the bank made. And I mean, I could care less about that. The heart of the matter is these institutions have violated human rights, period. They are criminals on that level. They have committed crimes against humanity on that level. That's the area that we need to address, and that's the area that these power mongers need to be brought to toe the line and given the opportunity to make the reparations and to do what's right by the whole world, so that the whole world can prosper, so that we can create win-win situations for everyone. And these that have stolen need to feel what it's like they've impoverished people. They need to feel what impoverishment feels like by the experience of it, so that everything that they've gained through fraud and deception is taken away from them. That's the way that the universe seems to teach us. It teaches us through personal experience. And again, personal experience is never an illusion. It is experience that indelibly makes its mark on our eternal being, if you will, on our conscious awareness, if you will, so that we can expand into the fullness of what we were created to be. Literally, we are gods. We are part of gods. We are God. We are children of God. Every one of us is a child of the Most High. And in order to come into the fullness of the awareness of that, we need to have the experiences on the positive side and the negative side, the masculine side, the feminine side. They all have to learn how to do the dance instead of the duel. I've been saying that over and over again. That is the meat of my message, if you will. That's the central theme of my message, to dance instead of duel. And that's what I need to learn. That's what we all need to learn. And yes, there are many angles and many choices, and they all have their meaning. They all have their purpose. And it's up to us to look at these things and to learn wisdom and to love. And yes, I'm still going to keep on my laughter regimen. I did it before I went to bed again last night, watching laughter videos. And I'm going to keep on with that because it does feel good, even when I wake up the next morning pondering the questions and pondering the angles. That's all I'm going to share for today. Namaste, and thank you. Have a beautiful day.